What is up, you guys? My name is Goji. Welcome back, Goji. Welcome back to a brand new video. Before we can get into this, as always, thank you so much for all the support you've been giving this channel. It really means a lot to me. And yeah, if you want to show some more support for this channel, please smash the like button with a sledgehammer. Comment down below how your day was, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And yeah, so this will be my first. So this video will be my first official Destiny lore video. Since being a bunch of other YouTubers have been doing it, like Careless Gamers. There's like a bunch of YouTubers I can't. There's like a bunch of YouTubers I can't really name every single one off the top of my head. So like the only one I can name is just Careless Gamers. Links in the description below for his channel. He's an awesome guy. And today I will be so for this first episode, since being my name it's the Taken Goji, not like my channel name, not yet, but my name right now is Taken Goji, and I thought, and I'm technically a hive god and stuff. I just thought, why not just talk about the origins of Oryx? Now, as many of you know, maybe you may know him as a guy, you know, but before he technically was a girl, so he's basically a transgender if you think about it. But so Oryx used to be a girl instead of a guy, so that's pretty weird. So that's actually pretty interesting, really complicated lore that I'll be talking about after this little intro. And let's begin. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite magic sword, that magic hive sword or whatever it is, and or a new Taken disciple or whatever it is, and let's get into this. Oryx's origins start back at the time when he used to live on shards around the gas giant named the Fundament, and which was an area where the Pro Hive went on a hardest existence on the floating continents, which used to be part of their old homeworld. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, their homeworld went in a crash collision with a star. I think a star or something. I can't exactly remember, unfortunately, but their homeworld was basically destroyed, and now they're just basically floating shards on a gas giant called the Fundament, like I said. And Oryx's real name when it was born was Arash. He or she was one of the daughters of the Osmium King, ruler of the continent called the Osmium Court. Arash also had sisters, Zero. I'm sorry if I don't know how, I can't pronounce the name right, and Sathona, who made up the final brood for the Osmium King. When the Osmium King was 10 years old, he went to a madness-fearing event called the Syzygy, I think it's pronounced, which happens when all of the Fundament's 52 moons will align and create a massive tidal wave that will destroy the Fundament's civilizations. Tyox, I'm sorry if I don't know how, I don't know how to pronounce that one. A sterile mother served as a teacher for the daughters, feared the heirs were too weak to succeed the king, and then invited the rivals to the court known as the Helium Drinkers to invade the Osmium Court, kill the royal family, and allow Tyox, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name right, and to rule the Osmium Court. The Helium Drinkers invade and kill the Osmium King, but Oryx and his sisters escaped on a ship and vowed for revenge. But that didn't work. So yeah. But then a year later, the sisters found a ship called that they named the Needle from the Shivubi Maelstrom. Zero wanted to sell it to raise money to hire an army. Yeah, but Arash wanted to take command for it. Sathona sided with Arash, goaded on by a worm that their father had before he died, the worm that had washed up, the worm that had washed up on the Osmium Court shores and was seemingly dead, but Sathona could hear it speak still. The sisters spent the next 2 years reactivating the ship until Arash decided to use it to fulfill its purpose, to dive in the Fundament's core and to try to prevent the syzygy. And so anyway, as the sisters descended into the Fundament, they found another creature called the Leviathan, which the Leviathan was a disciple of the Traveler. Unfortunately, we don't know. Unfortunately, there aren't any exact pictures of what he looks like. So basically, what I'm guessing is, since he is a disciple of the Traveler, he's basically a sphere-like creature. So the Leviathan warned the sisters on proceeding further, telling them that they have to face a choice between the sky and the deep. In other words, the light and the darkness, the way of life and the way of death. The sisters ignored the Leviathan, unable to accept that allowing their people to suffer was the better way, and instead decided to follow the worm Sathona as saved, which urged them to continue diving. In the Fundament, while in the Fundament oceans, the sisters encountered the worms, who drew their power from the darkness itself. Yul, the honest worm, Ir, Zul, Ur, and Akka, the virtuous worms, which, if you can guess from the names, they're the chests from when you're on the Dreadnought. And the worm gods can claim that they have lived and grown in the Fundament's depths for millions of years, trapped out by the Leviathan and Traveler. They have called many species to the Fundament, hoping one day someone would be tenacious enough to find them. They offered Zero, Sathona, and Arash immortality if they would allow themselves to be hosts for the worm's larvae. I know, pretty interesting, right? With the caveat that if the sisters cease to obey their natures, Zero's desire to test her strength, Zathona's cunning, and Aras's inquisitiveness, their worms would consume them. Furthermore, the stronger their sisters became, the greater their worms' appetites would be. The sisters accepted the pact. Zero took the night form and became Zivu Arath. Sathona took the mother morph and became Savathun, and Arash took the king morph, transforming into a male and becoming Oryx, which is not the real name Oryx, but which I'll get to later. King of the Hive, and he became the king of the hive. Over the following years, the siblings returned into their people and spread the worms among them, creating the first living hive and enabling them to first liberate the Osmium Core, then drive Tau, Teox, and the other fearful species of Fundament to Karn Atoll, and finally to build spaceships and break free of Fundament entirely. Oryx and I'm sorry if I keep pronouncing the name wrong. It's Oryx. I'm gonna say it's Oryx. As Oryx and his sisters formed an ultimatum on the remaining protohive to accept the worms or perish, Oryx turned his attention to Fundament's moons, and the Ammonites there who had allied with the Traveler and gave asylum to Teox. Initially, he was willing to negotiate with the Ammonites, but his sister Savathun, under pressure from the worms, killed Oryx as punishment. Rather than dying, Oryx's soul instead passed to his Ascendant Realm, or the Throne World, where his soul resided until he turned to the Mortal Realm. Rebuked, Oryx purged what sympathy and goodwill he had left, becoming a merciless tyrant. He and his sisters warred and killed one another on a regular basis, as part of their worship of the sword logic and their attempt to become the sharpest blades in the universe, heading to their Ascendant Realms when defeated. The war of revenge against Teox had transformed into a campaign of genocide when they slew the Ammonites and other interstellar civilizations to feed their worms. The Lords of the Hive also established their Ascendant Realms, with Oryx naming his the High War. Pretty interesting name, I have to admit, by the way. During the war with the I'm sorry. I just can't pronounce things right. It's Isumine or something. I can flash on the screen right now. How you say that word? Someone, if there's any professionals on how to say it, please tell me. Oryx came to realize that the worm had deceived him and his sisters. The worm's appetites were growing past their ability to feed with death. He had a meeting with his sisters in his Ascendant Realm. When his sisters offered their power to help Oryx find a way to save them, Oryx killed them, then used that power to confront his patron god, Akka, the Worm of Secrets. He killed Akka so he may seal its ability to call upon the deep and create the tablets of ruin, which gave him the power to take, and then his transformation was complete. Oryx was now Oryx, the Taken King, as we all know. During the subsequent war with the I still can't pronounce it. Eukamine. Oryx revived Zivu Arath in an act of war and revived Savathun in an act of cunning. He then decreed the Tith system. Each hive would kill their enemies, take some to feed their own worm, and take the rest. And take the rest to their superior. Thralls would evolve to acolytes. Acolytes would evolve to knights or wizards. The knights and wizards would evolve to the Ascendant Hive. Those who commanded legions of warriors and earned the right to enter the Hive Gods' Ascendant realms. All of this violence would eventually reach Oryx, Savathun, and Zivu Arath, allowing their worms to feed on violence while continuing to invoke their inner natures. Fearing that he was becoming a nihilist, Oryx eventually decided to sire his own spawn. The results of this was Crota, son of Oryx, which will be for another video, and the Death Singer twins, Ir Anuk and Ir Halak. One day, the Death Singers were refining their death songs and came up with the idea of the Oversoul. Intrigued, Oryx commanded Crota to watch his sisters, so that he might learn something. However, while Oryx was off studying the deep, Crota was deceived by Savathun into using his cleaver to cut a portal in the High War, allowing the Vex to enter. For 100 years, the children of Oryx waged at war with the Vex, which quickly deduced the sword logic and worship of the deep as key to attaining power in the High War. However, while the Hive were able to overpower the Vex, they were unable to push them out, as they lost too much of their power when entering the Vex conflux. The situation became so severe that the worm Ir itself demanded that Oryx return and end the war. Quickly returning to the High War, Oryx used his powers to take the Vex and clear his Thorn World. Angered at his son's imperfection, Oryx threw Crota into the Vex Gate network, decreeing that he return victorious or die forgotten. At first, Crota resented his father for his seeming abandonment, but after time came to understand his father and built temples to Oryx in the deep, eventually becoming a vital link in Oryx's time of death and achieving godhood himself. However, Oryx realized that the threat of the Vex invading his throne world could not happen again. So he moved the Hive War into a mighty dreadnought, scrimshot from the remains of Akka, which is the dreadnought we all know today. During the Hive's campaign against the Harmony and the Vex, Curia Blade Transform, weird name I know, presented Oryx with a simulation of his former self, Arash. Oryx looked upon the simulation with amusement, while Arash looked upon Oryx in horror, demanding to know what he had done to her sisters and her people. In the end, Oryx sued Curia and presented the Vex corpse and its simulation to Savathun. When she asked him what proof they had what they were doing was right, Oryx simply replied that the Hive's existence was proof enough in their convictions to live eternal by the sword logic. Following the war with the Harmony, the Savathun decided that her fleets would enter the black hole that the Harmony lived around, claiming that they would become stronger for it, while Zivu Arath took her fleets away from Oryx as she felt he constrained her too much. And now it leads to the events of the Taken War. If you haven't done the Taken King expansion yet, I will not spoil it for you. So yeah, but I'm gonna say this though. He's basically, after he learned the death of his son in Crota, he went to the solar system for revenge. That's all I have to say. So if you haven't done the Taken King expansion, I would recommend it. So that way you'll understand the story, you know. But yeah. So that's just about it for my first episode of my Destiny lore thing. Thank you for watching. If you thought this was if you want more Destiny lore videos like this, smash the like button, comment down below how your day was, and subscribe for more content, for some more Destiny content. But I just hope you guys learned something new about Oryx and how he used to be a girl and stuff. And yeah, so see you guys later. I am Goji. See you in the next video. Peace out, Taken Disciples.